5 Worst Places to Live in Florida. Florida has more hidden nightmares than a Disney villain's backstory. You know the Florida they sell yubaches, palm trees, lizards doing push-ups on your porch. But there's another side they don't put on postcards. Towns where the AC is busted, the jobs are gone, and hope clocks out early. And no, I'm not talking about Miami traffic or alligator politics. I mean places you've never heard of. And honestly, there's a reason. We're diving into the 5 worst places to live. In Florida, not the usual suspects. These are the forgotten towns with beautiful views and brutal stats. One has a football program more famous than its economy. Another, let's just say, its water smells like the 1980s. Think you know Florida. Prove it. Because what nobody tells you is the worst place to live isn't always the one with crime. Sometimes it's the one with silence. And trust me, you're not ready for the town that might literally dissolve itself. Choosing wrong could cost you thousands or your sanity. So hit that subscribe button if you like avoiding disasters before they happen. You'll thank yourself later. Let's break it down. 5. Pahokee, where dreams go to sweat the setup. In Pahokee, the soil can grow anything except a functioning economy. Yeah, let that line sink in while you picture a town surrounded by some of the richest farmland in America, but still struggling to keep the lights on at City Hall. The truth beneath the sugarcane and city budgets, Pahokee sits on the southeastern edge of Lake Okeechobee, quiet, beautiful, and holding more untold stories than a courtroom on a Friday afternoon. You'd think a place built on agriculture, lakefront access, and football legends would be thriving. But then reality hits harder than the humidity. Unemployment has spiked as high as 35% in past downturns. Median household income sits around $30,000, almost half the state average. Utilities and infrastructure are chronically underfunded, leading to rolling maintenance issues. Population decline has squeezed the tax base, making city services feel budget-optional. Crime trends are tied directly to economic stagnation, not chaos, the slow burn kind, not the headline kind. And here's where it gets political. Pahokee has spent years caught between county oversight, state grants, and federal promises, all of which arrive slower than a Florida DMV line. There have been debates over mismanagement, missing funds, and development deals that vanish like mirages, leaving residents asking the same question. Who's actually steering this ship? The emotional reality, a local Reddit comment put it best. Pahokee is where ambition goes to sweat while waiting for city funding. And surprisingly, shockingly, the town still produces NFL athletes at a rate that makes college scouts treat it like a pilgrimage site. When escape is a dream, football becomes the portal. The emotional, financial, and structural consequences. Living in Pahokee isn't a disaster movie. It's a slow documentary about what happens when systems fail quietly. You feel it in the water bills, the roads that need resurfacing, the city projects that stall until next fiscal year, the grants that might come through, and the job postings that look like they were written in 2014 and forgotten. Government transparency is a recurring character here, sometimes missing from the scene, sometimes delivering tough truths about the cost of running a city with a shrinking tax base and rising needs. If economics builds the walls of a town, governance is the foundation. And Pahokee's foundation, let's just say it's been patched more times than a college student's MacBook charger, the sensory experience. I respect resilience, but man, Pahokee humidity has hands. It grabs you, shakes you, and negotiates your lunch plans. The mosquitoes show up like they're running a protection racket, and the city roads, some of them, feel like they were paved during the Carter administration. If your car survives a year here, it deserves a medal, or at least therapy. Step outside at sunrise. The lake is glowing, the fields smell like damp sugar and gasoline. A heron glides across the water. Beautiful, right? Until the cane-burning smoke drifts in. The buses rattle past. And you remember the nearest grocery store is a road trip, not a walk. It's paradise with fine print. And if you think Pahokee is complicated, wait until you see the next place where the town isn't just struggling, it's practically negotiating its own existence. 4. Belle Glade, the sugar empire's forgotten workers, the ironic motto. In Belle Glade, they say the soil is so rich it'll grow anything except opportunity. Let's get this out of the way. Belle Glade has potential, the kind of raw, gritty potential that should have made it a standout Florida city. It has farmland, history, sunshine, and a view of Lake Okeechobee that'd make a painter cry. But then reality shows up and it doesn't knock. It just walks right in and sits on the couch like it pays rent. Let's talk facts. not fiction. Welcome to Belle Glade, the heart of Florida's sugarcane empire, a place where sugar is king and everyone else is barely getting by. The brutal statistics, here's what the numbers say. Median household income, approximately $26,000. Poverty rate hovers around 35%, over double the national average. Unemployment regularly among the highest in the state. Violent crime rate, over 60% higher than the national average. Rental availability, extremely limited. And yes, even the affordable units aren't always habitable by most people's standards. And here's the kicker: Belle Glade's official motto: her soil is her fortune. Yeah, maybe someone should check the books, because someone's cashing in, and it's not the residents. The extraction model Belle Glade is what happens when agriculture makes millions and the workers get breadcrumbs. This town supplies a massive share of the nation's sugar. But look closer, and you'll see cracked sidewalks, failing infrastructure, and underfunded schools. Local government has faced serious criticism for mismanagement over the years, budget transparency, spotty efforts to revitalize the area. Half-baked, underfunded, or stalled in bureaucracy. And here's where it gets messy. Palm Beach County gets rich off Belle Glade's output. But most of that revenue never cycles back into the city. What you get is a classic example of resource extraction without reinvestment. The money leaves, the issues stay. What nobody tells you is a lot of Belle Glade's problems aren't from failure, they're from being ignored. This is the kind of place where you could be standing next to $1 billion crop while your streetlight hasn't worked in 9 years, and your neighbor's roof is held together by hope and a single Home Depot tarp. The daily reality. Here's what gets me. You drive past miles of golden cane fields. It smells like barbecued sunlight and dust. And then you hit the town, and it's like someone forgot to finish the level. Potholes the size of rental cars. A grocery store that closes at 6 p.m. You want to grab a coffee? Good luck. The most modern thing in a 10-mile radius might be the vending machine at the DMV, and it only takes coins. You walk outside. The sky is flawless. The air is thick, not in a beachy way, in a guess the pesticide kind of way. In the distance, sugarcane fields stretch to the horizon, but the roads are cracked. The power flickers, and across the street, someone's front yard has more junk than a pawn shop. It's like Florida took a vacation and left Belle Glade behind. Would you rather live in a town with no jobs but a view, or one with jobs but no soul? Let me know in the comments. I'm bracing for chaos. 3. Century the town, time forgot. 706 to 941, the ghost town. Century, Florida. Population, 1,700, give or take whoever moved out last week. This isn't just a small town. Century is the kind of place where even time seems like it packed a suitcase and never came back. Blink, and you'll miss it. Blink twice, you might end up mayor by accident. A town with a name that feels like a joke. At first glance, Century sounds like something you'd find on a historic walking tour. Maybe a charming southern nook with white porches, old diners, and folks who still wave from their front porch. But then you get there, and you realize it's more ghosted by the 20th century than quaint Americana. Here's what we're working with. Median household income, $30,000. The fiscal disaster poverty rate, over 33%. City financial audits, a mess. In 2019, the state discovered hundreds of thousands in missing or mismanaged funds. Infrastructure leaking water systems, patchy power, and broadband that's slower than a turtle with performance anxiety. Job market? Let's just say even Dollar General had trouble hiring. And yes, they've seriously discussed dissolving the town. As in, should we just stop existing? You know you've got problems when your city council meetings sound like a Reddit thread titled, "Are we still a town or just a vibe?" What I tease like living in Century isn't dramatic. It's not headline-level chaos. It's the slow drip of forgotten promises. City services feel like they're powered by duct tape and group prayers. Economic development plans stall in committee meetings that no one live streams, and governance. At times, it's unclear who's in charge or if anyone really wants the job. State audits have flagged Century for fiscal mismanagement multiple times over the past decade. Misplaced funds, sloppy bookkeeping, questions nobody seems to answer. The town's own mayor once admitted they were doing the best they can, which is the municipal equivalent of "we're winging it." Can we talk? About the parking lot with no actual building attached. Like Century has these random paved zones that look like they were meant for something that never got funded. The surreal landscape, it's like Sim City on low battery. Add in roads that feel like they're actively resisting tires. And you've got a town that's basically challenging your car to a fight every time you leave the driveway. You step out into the Century morning, crickets, pine trees, a breeze that smells like someone mowing a ghost's backyard. You wave to a neighbor. Or was that just a curtain moving? You open your mailbox, it's empty. Of course it is. The town budget probably forgot stamps. Would you live in a place where the government once misplaced half its budget if the rent was under $500? Be honest, I'm watching. Okay, sidebar. Did you know Century was once a coal mining boomtown? That's right, from coal to chaos, the rebrand is not going great. Remember when Belle Glade had a motto about its soil being a fortune? Yeah, Century's motto should be under construction forever, too. Frostproof, the name is a lie, the deceptive promise. Frostproof Florida wear. The weather doesn't lie, but almost everything else kind of does. This town sounds like a promise. A warm little haven immune to cold, hardship, and frostbite of all kinds. But surprise, that name was a marketing stunt. Like naming a swamp Paradise Hills and wondering why tourists leave crying. Let's be clear, Frostproof didn't get on this list for being loud. It got here for being quiet in all the wrong ways. You've got median household income just under $37,000, well below Florida's average. The statistics: over 25% of residents living below the poverty line. Limited job market citrus and seasonal work dominate. But after years of citrus greening and hurricanes, good luck. Public schools score below average across the board. Violent crime rate, double the national average. Oh, and the nearest real hospital. Bring snacks, you'll be driving. One Reddit user described it as a peaceful place to die of boredom or bad infrastructure. It's not dangerous in a headline-grabbing way. It's the slow kind: stagnant wages, underfunded everything, and a vibe that feels like a paused loading screen. The bitter irony, the real cost of the lie: Frostproof sells you warmth, but living here often means fighting economic chill every single day. The town has charmed small homes, older neighbors, citrus groves, but not much else. And while it might sound peaceful, that peace comes with a price. No opportunity, limited services, and a government budget that feels like it was written on the back of a receipt. You know how some places feel like they're on the brink of something big? Frostproof feels like it's waiting for a comeback that no one's planning. You name your town Frostproof in 1915 to trick citrus investors. That's clever. But 100 years later, when the economy's frozen and the job market's iced over, ironic doesn't even cover it. The infrastructure. Let's talk about those roads. I drove through Frostproof once and hit so many potholes, I thought I was in a video game bonus level. Then there's the downtown one antique store, a gas station, and a cafe that closes at 3 p.m. Like, what if I want sadness after lunch? And don't even ask about Wi-Fi. If you get a signal, keep it alive. That's your lifeline. Now picture this: you wake up to the sound of a distant rooster. Not an alarm. The skies, soft orange. The air smells like sun-baked grass and diesel. It's quiet, peaceful maybe, to peaceful. You drive to get breakfast. The one diner is closed on Tuesdays. Your car rattles over 3 potholes before you hit the main road, which is somehow less paved than your driveway. In Weston, Florida, the crime rate is half the national average and median income is $115,000. In Frostproof, that same number is closer to the poverty line and the crime rate is double. Same state, wildly different weather forecast for your bank account. 1. Fort Meade, the forgotten chapter, the rough draft. If Florida is a storybook of sun-drenched dreams, Fort Meade is the chapter they ripped out and forgot to reprint. This is not a joke. This town feels like a rough draft. All setup, no payoff. A forgotten sentence at the bottom of a Wikipedia page that never got sourced. Fort Meade was once a big deal. It's the oldest city in Polk County. Used to be a trade hub, a phosphate boomtown. It had railroads, investors, momentum, and then poof. Progress took the freeway around it and never looked back. The current state? Here's where we are now. Population approximately 5,000 and slowly shrinking. Median household income approximately $38,000. Poverty rate over 23%. Job market limited. One Redditor said, "If you want work, you either pray Walmart's hiring or learn how to fix your neighbor's lawnmower." Schools underfunded. local economy hanging by antique stores and hope. And despite its historic charm, Fort Meade has been quietly sinking under infrastructure neglect, underinvestment, and a serious identity crisis. It's not thriving, it's not collapsing, it's just stalling. The stagnation. Living in Fort Meade feels like getting stuck inside an old photograph. Pretty sure, but stiff, static. The roads are cracked, the shops are mostly closed, the economy, it's limping along on agriculture, seasonal work, and dollar store logistics. Government help, minimal development plans, mostly wishful thinking on a whiteboard somewhere. It's the kind of place where the city budget feels like a group text and half the replies are read but never answered. And yet, no one's really mad. They're just tired. Tired of being forgotten. Tired of waiting on the next version of Fort Meade that never quite uploads. The absurdity, you know it's bad when the biggest economic disruptor in your town is a dollar tree opening across the street from Family Dollar. Bold strategy. Okay, I'm going to say it. Why does every Florida town like this have a dozen churches, 3 antique stores, and 1 Chinese takeout spot inside a gas station? And why is the Wi-Fi slower than molasses in a Florida summer? You try to stream something and the buffering wheel gives you time to question your life choices. I checked Yelp. Someone gave the library 1 star for being closed on Mondays and smelling like old tax returns. Welcome to Fort Meade. The daily existence you wake up to, the sound of cicadas, not traffic. You walk out the front door. It's quiet, still, peaceful. Smells like pine needles and humidity. The roads are empty. You wave at a neighbor because it's the same one you've seen for 20 years. There's beauty in the common till. You realize the nearest job fair is 30 miles away and the only coffee shop is your kitchen. Fort Meade is the kind of town where if a tumbleweed rolled through Main Street, it'd probably get elected to city council unopposed. Closing like this video, if you've ever visited a town and thought, did I accidentally time travel? Subscribe if you want to avoid accidentally moving to one. You'll thank yourself when Zillow starts acting shady.